नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. Continuing the 15th chapter, the Pandavas retired timely. In this Kali Yuga, no one wants to retire. One wants to enforce himself. He does not want to give up his post, his position, his power, his assets, his resources, although none of it belongs to him. But he voluntarily, he never has this feeling of getting released or getting freed from it. But this is what is the quality of Krishna and his devotees. What is the quality? Which quality we are discussing?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, your voice is breaking.
Hare Krishna. I'll speak from the mobile. There is some problem. It is not connecting. आवाज आ रही है आप लोग को? You are able to hear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So we see how after hearing what Arjuna shared with Yudhishthira Maharaj, that Krishna has returned back to the spiritual world. And immediately Yudhishthira Maharaj also takes the decision. Upon hearing of the Lord's 32nd verse that we discussed last time, that upon hearing of Lord Krishna returning to his abode, and upon understanding the end of the Yadu dynasty's earthly manifestation, Maharaj Yudhishthira decided to go back home, back to Godhead, not to continue. We see the example of Dhritarashtra. You see, this is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Dhritarashtra, all his sons were killed. Everyone was slain. But he could not give up his attachment to the kingdom. And here we see the Pandavas, all the 5 Pandavas are there. No one has been lost. But the indication which is coming from Krishna, immediately Maharaj Yudhishthira is able to catch it and implement it. Hare Krishna. Verse number 33. One more time I am trying if laptop can connect. Okay, it is connected. You can see the screen. Screen दिख रहा है?
Not yet, Prabhuji.
अब दिख रहा है? मुझे अपने स्क्रीन में दिख रहा है.
Yes, Prabhuji. अभी दिख रहा है.
अब दिख रहा है? मुझे अपने स्क्रीन में दिख रहा है. ये थोड़ी आप दिख रहा है? मुझे अपने स्क्रीन में दिख रहा है. I have to mute it. Okay. पृथापि अनुसृत्य धनञ्जय उदितं नाशं यदूनां भगवद्गतिं च ताम् एकांत भक्त्या भगवती अधोक्षजे निवेशिता आत्मा Kunti, after overhearing Arjuna telling of the end of the Yadu dynasty and disappearance of Lord Krishna, engaged in the devotional service of the transcendental personality of Godhead with full attention, and thus gained release from the course of material existence. So the Hare Krishna. I'll continue from mobile only today. It is not working. Not to waste time, it's already late. The setting of the sun, reading from the purport to 33rd verse. The setting of the sun does not mean the end of the sun. It means that the sun is out of our sight. Similarly, the end of the mission of the Lord in a particular universe or planet only means that he is out of our sight. The end of the Yadu dynasty also does not mean that it is annihilated. It disappears along with the Lord and is out of our sight. As Maharaj Yudhishthira decided to prepare to go back to Godhead, so also Kunti decided, and thus she fully engaged herself in transcendental devotional service of the Lord, which guarantees one a passport for going back to Godhead after quitting his present material body. The beginning of devotional service to the Lord is the beginning of spiritualization of the present body. And thus an unalloyed devotee of the Lord loses all material contact in the present body. The abode of the Lord is not a myth, as is thought by the unbelievers or ignorant people. But one cannot reach there by any material means like a Sputnik or space capsule. But one can certainly reach there after leaving his present body, and one must prepare himself to go back to Godhead by practicing devotional service. This guarantees a passport for going back to Godhead, and Kunti adopted it. So here, what is being glorified is Kunti Devi. What in her prayer says, that Sneh Pasham Imam Chindi. That please sever my knot of attachment to both Tridushu, Pandushu, Vishnushu, also to my sons, the Pandavas, and also to my family members from mother and father side. And she completely focused on performing unalloyed devotional service. Yayarha bhuvo bharam tam tanum vijava aja kantakam kantakaneva dvayam chapishitu samam. The Supreme Unborn, Lord Sri Krishna, caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies. And thus, he relieved the burden of the world. This action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn. though both are the same to the controller. So as we discussed that, all the Yadus, they fought amongst themselves and killed each other. So here, Sukadeva Goswami is giving the analogy that action was like picking out a thorn with a thorn. And he released the burden of the earth. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests that the rishis like Sonak and others who were hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Suta Goswami at Naimisharanya were not happy to hear about the Yadus dying in the madness of intoxication. To give them relief from the mental agony, Suta Goswami assured them that the Lord caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, by which they had taken away the burden of the world. The Lord and his eternal associates appeared on earth to help the administrative demigods in eradicating the burden of the world. He therefore called for some of the confidential demigods to appear in the Yadu family and serve him in his great mission. After the mission was fulfilled, the demigods, by the will of the Lord, relinquished their corporal bodies by fighting amongst themselves in the madness of intoxication. The demigods are accustomed to drinking the som rasa beverage, and therefore the drinking of wine and intoxication are not unknown to them. Sometimes they are put into troubles for indulging in intoxication. Once the son of Kuvera felt the wrath of Narad for being intoxicated, but afterwards they regained their original forms by the grace of Lord Sri Krishna. We shall find the story in the 10th canto. For the Supreme Lord, both the Asuras and the demigods are equal. But we shall find in the story in the 10th. Okay. The demigods are obedient to the Lord, whereas the Asuras are not. Therefore, the example of picking out a thorn by another thorn is quite befitting. One thorn which causes pinprick to the leg of the Lord is certainly disturbing to the Lord, and the other thorn which takes out the disturbing elements certainly gives service to the Lord. So, although every living being is part and parcel of the Lord, still one is a pinprick to the Lord is called an Asura, and one who is a voluntarily servitor of the Lord is called a Devata or demigod. In the material world, the Devatas and Asuras are always contending, and the Devatas are always saved from the hands of the Asuras by the Lord. Both parties are under the control of the Lord. The world is full of these two kinds of living beings. What is the verse? Who remembers the verse? That the world is full of these two kinds of living beings. And the Lord's mission is always to protect the Devatas and destroy the Asuras. बोलिए, इतनी बार कर चुके हैं ये श्लोक. बोलिए दयाशील. किसी
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी.
बोलिए हरे कृष्ण. बोलो प्रभु, we are hearing you. Speak.
प्रभु जी, it is in 15th chapter, Dvaimam Purusha Loke, Sara Aksara Evacha.
Just please. You said it is in which chapter? अरे एक बार अनम्यूट करके छोड़ दो ना, बार बार क्यों टच कर रहे हो?
प्रभु जी 15.
अच्छा, 15 चैप्टर में क्या है? व्हाट इज द टाइटल ऑफ द 15 चैप्टर? डोंट अनम्यूट, लीव इट अनम्यूट, डोंट म्यूट इट. व्हाट इज द टाइटल ऑफ द 15 चैप्टर?
Yoga of the Supreme Lord, प्रभु जी. Yoga.
So then in that it will come. Why you are touching it? Don't touch it. Remove your finger.
Yes, Prabhuji.
15th chapter is Yoga of the Supreme. How many verses are there?
20, Prabhuji.
Where this is coming? In that 20 verses, we have not, so many times we have memorized the 20 verses. Where is this verse coming? Which chapter it is, Pradeep?
सेवंथ चैप्टर पढ़ते हैं
7th chapter. My goodness. Bhakti Yoga. Knowledge of the Absolute. Completely confused. कौन सा चैप्टर है माननीय माता जी? आप लोग को 18
प्रभु जी
चैप्टर के नाम नहीं याद?
18 प्रभु जी 18 उसमें देव और देवता असुर के बारे में लिखा है
18 चैप्टर में देव और असुर के बारे में लिखा है। खोलिए
13
जरा तो।
13 प्रभु जी 13
वो भी गलत है, सब गलत है, सारा गलत है, सब बकवास है। आप लोग को 18 चैप्टर का नाम भी नहीं पता है? दयाशील,
Prabhuji, the demonic and divine nature.
व्हाट इज द चैप्टर नेम, नंबर? अब देख क्या क्या बता रहे हो तुम लोग को? कुछ नहीं पता है, कंप्लीटली ये ना स्पेस्ड आउट पीपल। अरे क्या पढ़े हो तुम लोग? 7th चैप्टर इज नॉलेज ऑफ द एब्सोल्यूट, उसमें डिवाइन एंड डिमोनिक आता है। 13th चैप्टर बोल रहे हैं, 13th चैप्टर इज प्रकृति, पुरुष और चेतना, नेचर, एंजॉयर एंड कॉन्शियसनेस। 16th चैप्टर है। क्या शर्म, डूब के मर जाओ, जरा भी शर्म हो तो डूब जाओ। क्या गीता आती है? कुछ नहीं आता, जीरो। क्या लिखा है उसमें दयाशील?
Yes, Prabhuji.
कौन सा चैप्टर है?
Prabhuji, 16, the demonic and divine nature.
फिर तुम 15 कैसे बोल सकते हो?
Sorry, Prabhuji.
नहीं, सॉरी कुछ नहीं है। सॉरी क्या है? कुछ पता ही नहीं है। और ये इतने महान है प्रदीप, इतना याद कराया था, उसके बाद 7वां, तुमको 7th चैप्टर याद है ना प्रदीप? एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम यू हैड मेमोराइज्ड दिस 7th चैप्टर। यस और नो? या वो भी भूल गए? उसमें आता है द्वय महापुरुषा लोके। You don't revise. Do you ever revise? You don't. पूरा चैप्टर ही नाम गायब है। फिर हाउ कैन यू से दैट यू आर स्टूडेंट ऑफ भगवत गीता? यही नहीं पता है किस चैप्टर में क्या है। इट इज इन 16th चैप्टर। We are going to Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is not clear. What is the point in using studying Bhagavatam? The demigods are accustomed to drinking the somras beverage, and therefore the drinking of wine and intoxication are not unknown to them. Sometimes they were put into trouble for indulging in intoxication. Once the sons of Kuvera felt the wrath of Narad Muni for being intoxicated, but afterward they regained their original forms by the grace of the Lord Sri Krishna. We shall find this story in the 10th canto. For the Supreme Lord, both the Asuras and the demigods are equal, but the demigods are obedient to the Lord, whereas the Asuras are not. Therefore, the example of picking out a thorn by another thorn is quite befitting. One thorn which causes pinprick on the leg of the Lord is certainly disturbing to the Lord, and the other thorn which takes out the disturbing element certainly gives service to the Lord. So although every living being is part and parcel of the Lord, still one who is a pinprick to the Lord is called an Asura, and one who is the volunteer servitor to the Lord is called a Devata or demigod. In the material world, the Devtas and Asuras are always contending. And the Devtas are always saved from the hands of the Asuras by the Lord. Both parties are under the control of the Lord. The world is full of these two kinds of living beings. And the Lord's mission is always to protect the Devtas and destroy the Asuras. Whenever there is such a need in the world, and to do good to both of them. यथा मत्स्यादि रूपाणि दत्ते जयाद यथा नटा भूभारा शपितो येना जाहो तक्षे कलेवरम. The Supreme Lord relinquished the body which he manifested to diminish the burden of the earth. Just like a magician, he relinquishes one body to accept different ones, like the fish incarnations and others. So Krishna's appearance and his disappearance is being explained. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is neither impersonal nor formless. His body is non-different from him, and therefore he is known as the embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. There is no difference between Krishna, body, and Krishna himself. That means there is no gross body and there is no subtle body. It is all spiritual. His form is spiritual. Everything about Krishna is spiritual. In the Brihad Vaishnava Tantra, it is clearly mentioned that anyone who considers the form of Lord is to be made of material energy must be orchestrized by all means. And if by chance the face of such an infidel is seen, one must clean himself by jumping in the river with his clothing. The Lord is described as Amrit or deathless because he has no material body. Under these circumstances, the Lord's dying or putting his body is just like the jugglery of a magician. The magician shows by his tricks that he is cut to pieces, burnt to ashes, or made unconscious by hypnotic influences. But all are the false shows only. Factually, the magician himself is neither burnt to ashes nor cut to pieces, nor is he dead or unconscious. We have seen so many times such shows at any stage of magical demonstration. Similarly, the Lord has his eternal form of unlimited variety, of which the fish incarnation was exhibited within this universe, is also one. Because there are innumerable universes, somewhere or other the fish incarnation must be manifested, his pastime without cessation. In this verse, the particular word dhatte, eternally accepted, and the word dhitva, accepted for the occasion, is used. The idea is that the Lord does not create the fish incarnation. He eternally has such a form, and the appearance and disappearance of such an incarnation says particular purpose. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:24-25, the Lord says, the impersonalists think that I have no form and that I am formless, but at the present I have accepted a form to serve the purpose, and now that I have now manifested. By such speculations, but speculations are factually without errors in the Vedic literatures. They are actually ignorant forms of it. The reason is that I reserve the power of being hidden from the non-devotees. So this is the verse, and Prabhupada is giving the translation. What is the verse? Without seeing, which verse is this? Very famous verse. Behind you, your screen is working. Dayashil Prabhu, what is playing in the screen?
Gaurangi Singh. Gaurangi Singh, the cartoon, Prabhuji. You see cartoon, then you can hear, huh? With the music is on
or only the images are coming?
Prabhuji, music is on. I'll reduce that.
Then how can you hear? How you will hear? Nowadays, people have only one child, huh? And it is so difficult to upbring one child. Previously, in our generation, we were having at least few, 3 or 4. And before that generation, they were having 5 and more. And before that generation, they were having 8, 10, or even more. Okay. Which verse is this? Which Prabhupada is explaining here from Bhagavad Gita? Naham prakasha sarvasya yog. Which verse is this? Yeah, 20, same verse. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita. The impersonalists think that I have no form and I am formless, but at present I have accepted a form to serve a purpose and I am now manifested. But such speculations are factually without sharp intelligence. Though they may be good scholars in the Vedic literatures, they are actually ignorant of my inconceivable energies and my eternal form of personality. The reason is that I reserve the power of being hidden from the non-devotees by my mystic curtain. What is the mystic curtain? What is the mystic curtain?
Yogamaya.
What is the verse? Anyone remembers the verse? Sonika gave presentation on this. Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Maya Javnika Channa.
Yeah, Maya Javanika Chanda. The less intelligent fools are therefore unaware of my eternal form, which is never to be vanquished and is unborn. In the Padma Purana, it is said that those who are envious and always angry at the Lord are unfit to know the actual and eternal form of the Lord. So this is the reason why we are not able to know the Lord. 2 reasons are cited here. Prabhupada says that those who are envious, and those who are angry towards the Lord. In the Bhagavatam, it is said that the Lord appeared like a thunderbolt to those who were wrestlers. What were the 2 wrestlers? 2 wrestlers, like Lord appeared like a thunderbolt. Very beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. क्या बात है भाई? शास्त्रों की तरफ आकर्षण नहीं आ रहा तो किधर जा रहा है? हाँ? Shishupal at the time of being killed by the Lord could not see him as Krishna, being dazzled by the glare of the Brahmajyoti. Therefore, although the Lord relinquished both his temporary manifestation as a thunderbolt before the wrestlers appointed by Kamsa and his glaring appearance before Shishupal like a magician, the Lord is eternally existent and never vanquished in any circumstance. Such forms are temporarily shown to the asuras only, and when such exhibition are withdrawn, the asuras think that the Lord is no more existent, just as the foolish audience thinks the magician to be burnt to ashes or cut to pieces. Therefore, the conclusion is that because the Lord's body is transcendental, not material, he is never to be killed or changed. So we should know this philosophy that how Krishna, he does not undergo any change. Why? Because he is spiritual. Spirit means no change. And matter means constant change. Yata mukundo bhagavani mamahi जहो स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा साधार एव प्रतिबुद्ध चेतसाम् अभद्र हेतुर्कलेरा अन्ववार्तता. When the personality of Godhead Lord Krishna left this earthly planet in the self-same form, from that very day Kali, who had already partially appeared, became fully manifest to create inauspicious conditions for those who are endowed with the poor fund of knowledge. What are the words? Krishna Swadhama Upagate. The influence of Kali can be enforced upon those who are not fully developed in God consciousness. One can utilize the effect of Kali by keeping oneself under the supreme care of the personality of Godhead. The age of Kali ensued just after the battle of Kurukshetra, but it could not exert its influence because of the prominent presence of the Lord. The Lord, however, left his earthly planet in his own transcendental body, and soon as he left, the symptoms of Kali Yuga, as were envisioned by Maharaj Yudhishthira prior to Arjuna's arrival from Dwarka, began to manifest. And Maharaj Yudhishthira rightly conjectured on the departure of the Lord from the earth. As we have already explained, the Lord left our sight just as when the sun sets it out of our sight. Yudhishthira tad parisarpanam buddha pure cha rashtre cha grahe tathatmani vibhavya lobharhata jihma himsanadya adharma chakram gamanaya paryadhat. Maharaj Yudhishthira was intelligent enough to understand the influence of the age of Kali, characterized by increasing avarice, falsehood, cheating, and non-violence throughout the capital, state, and home, and among individuals. So he wisely prepared himself to leave home, and he dressed accordingly. Yudhishthira Maharaj could see that as Krishna has departed, the influence of Kali is becoming very prominent, and all the vices in the society were becoming rampant. So, seeing the situation getting bad to worse, he decided to leave home. The present age is influenced by the specific qualities of Kali since the days of Battle of Kurukshetra. About 5,000 years ago, the influence of the age of Kali began manifesting. And from authentic scripture, it is learned that the age of Kali is still to run for 420,000 years. The symptom of Kali Yuga, as mentioned above, namely avarice, falsehood, diplomacy, cheating, nepotism, violence, and all such things are already in vogue. And no one can imagine what is going to happen gradually with further increase of the influence of Kali till the day of annihilation. We have already come to know that the influence of the age of Kali is meant for godless so-called civilized man. Those who are under the protection of the Lord have nothing to fear from this horrible age. Maharaj Yudhishthira was a great devotee of the Lord, and there was no necessity of his being afraid of the age of Kali. But he preferred to retire from the active household life and prepare himself to go back to Godhead. The Pandavas are eternal companions of the Lord, and therefore they are more interested in the company of the Lord than anything else. Besides that, being an ideal king, Maharaj Yudhishthira wanted to retire just to set an example for others. As soon as there is some young fellow to look after the household affairs, one should at once retire from family life to uplift oneself to spiritual realization. One should not rot in the dark well of household life till one is dragged only by the will of Yamaraj. Modern politicians take lessons from Maharaj Yudhishthir about voluntary retirement. Modern politicians should take lessons from Maharaj Yudhishthir about voluntary retirement from active life and should make room for the younger generation. Also, retired old gentlemen should take lessons from him and leave home for spiritual realization before being forcefully dragged away to meet death. I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. So you see in this section what is being very prominently discussed is the detachment and renunciation of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Hare Krishna. Any contribution, question, clarification? Okay, then I'm ending it. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.